In today's video I'm gonna teach you how to create hand-drawn animations. That type of editing is very crispy and clean, so it's perfect to explain anything. So after you've watched the tutorial, you're gonna have a better understanding of how to use these types of animations. So that being said, let's get straight into Adobe After Effects. Alright, we're back in software. Here you got the comp settings, 1080 by 1920. Let's hit OK. And essentially the first thing you wanna do is just create a new solid. So I'm gonna right click, go to New, Solid, and here you're gonna pick that color. You can copy the hex code. Let's hit OK. OK again. I'm just gonna rename it to BG. And then I'm gonna duplicate that layer and I'll call it grid. Here what you wanna do with that layer selected is head over to the effects and we're gonna go to generate and let's pick grid. So now what you wanna do is play around with the settings a bit. So I'm gonna grab Y in the corner and I will just drag it to the left. And then I'm gonna change border to 2. Alright, pretty good. We can actually go to the opacity now and I'm gonna change it to 50%. Alright, so this is our starting point. We can actually pre-compose these two layers. So we got only one. Let's go to BG. Once you got the background, you want to grab the type tool and we're just going to type in the text, which is going to be hand-drawn animations. I'm going to recenter the text and for this we're going to use a different font, which is going to be Ephesus. Then I'm going to probably create a bigger space between two lines and I'm going to recenter again. And maybe, you know what, we're going to bump up the font size, just like that. All right, we got the text. Now we need a circle around it. So we're going to head over here. I'm going to press and go to the ellipse tool. Now I'm just going to create something like that. Let's recenter and we're going to turn off the fill color. We're going to decrease the stroke width to something like that. We're going to probably bump up the size a bit. Let's rename it to circle. And what you want to do is head over to add and we're going to pick trim paths. Now we want to open it up and keyframe end, move it forward and we're going to change it to 0%. Alright, so that way we're going to get that revealing effect. We might actually squeeze it in a bit. And then what you want to do is create an arrow, so make sure nothing is selected. And we're going to go to the pen tool and I'll just create a line over here. And then we're going to create a point here. I'm just going to extend so it's rounded. Then I'm going to go back like that. And then we're going to create another point over here. Then you can hold Alt and just drag it over here. Alright. It's a pretty good arrow. We're just gonna make sure that the line cap and the line join are round. So before and after. And then we wanna rename the layer and we're just gonna drag it over here. We might also wanna make it a bit bigger. Yeah. So now what you wanna do is copy the trim paths from the circle. So I'm gonna open it up, go to contents, select trim paths, hit Ctrl C and then Ctrl V for the arrow. Alright, pretty good. And then to create a hand-drawn text, what you would usually do is just grab the pen tool and you would just start creating lines on top of our text like that. But this is very time consuming. So an easier way for this is just head over to our text, right click, go to create and then create shapes from text. So now our text has gotten disabled because we got the text from shapes. So we want to delete this one and you want to copy the trim paths from here and we're going to paste it in the beginning of our shapes here. So that's what you're going to have, which is looking weird. But we need to head over here to the shapes and make sure to select the last letter. Actually, this is the first one. Then go down and we're going to hold shift and click on the last letter over here. So now we're going to disable the fill and we're going to turn on the stroke. Now make sure that the stroke is set to white. And what you want to do is bump up the stroke width. So as you can notice, we got like two lines over here. So we kind of want to bump up the stroke width unless they are covered like that. Probably like 6 should be fine. We got some empty area over here, but it's not gonna be that visible. Actually, this is giving a nice touch to this. Let me solo out that text and here's what we got. And what you wanna do with this is open up properties again. And here in the trim paths, you wanna open it up and change trim multiple shapes from simultaneously to individually. So now it's gonna go one by one, which is good. Then we can also extend this. And this is actually looking like it's being drawn. I feel like I made this text a bit too slow, so we're just gonna speed it up. Alright, so we're ready to add some effects to this. So first I'm gonna go to the arrow and I'm gonna add roughen edges effect. So here I'm just gonna decrease the border a bit to around 6. And then as for the complexity, I'm gonna bump it up all the way to 10. So this is already giving us a nice touch. Then I'm gonna copy this, paste it to the circle, but also to the arrow I feel like we could add drop shadow effect. So this is gonna give us a little bit of separation, which is good. And then once you got everything in place, the timing is correct. You want to just pre-compose these 3 layers. Let's call it lines plus text. And what we're going to do is create a new camera. So for this, I'm going to right click, go to new camera, and we're going to pick a preset of 35mm. Smooth camera is fine. Let's hit OK. I'm going to drop it below and let's create a new null object. I'm going to rename it to cam control. and I'm gonna parent the camera to the null. I'm also gonna change the color, and I'll turn on the 3D on everything. So now what we wanna do is push away the background a little bit. So I'm gonna open up second view, and here you wanna select the background and move it away like that. And then with scale, we're gonna bump it up to fill out the whole frame. And we're gonna be able to get that 3D feel. So now if I set a keyframe for position in our cam control 1, move it to the beginning, and move closer to the text, you're gonna see that 3D feel. Alright, something like that should do. I'm gonna close down the second view, and let's see. And now what you wanna do with this is basically select these two keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, and we just wanna create a peak in the middle, a saddle one. Right, let's see. Pretty good. I'm just thinking about going to our lines plus text, and I'm gonna have that arrow a little bit later. And then we're gonna zoom into that text a bit more, and I'm gonna scale it down, just like that. And now on top we need to add an adjustment layer that is gonna give us that jittery look. So I'm gonna right click, go to new, adjustment layer, let's go jitter. I'm gonna add turbulent displays to this. And now make sure to set the amount to around 12 and then size to 12 as well. We're gonna pick twist smoother. And if you go to the evolution options, you wanna go to the random seed over here and you wanna alt click the stopwatch. Here I'm gonna type in time, asterisk, maybe 6 should be fine. And as you can notice, if we zoom in, we're gonna get that jittery look over here, which is looking fire. Right, our next step is adding another adjustment layer, and here we're gonna call it color, and we're gonna add lumetri color effect. So here we're gonna add that warm touch in temperature, and then what you wanna do is head over to the color wheels, and we're gonna add a little bit of blue to the shadows. And then we're gonna right click, go to new, light, and here we wanna copy the settings. I'm just gonna change the intensity, and I'm gonna hit OK. We're gonna open up the second view, and then I'm gonna take that light upwards. I'll take it back with Z, and then with X orientation, we're gonna hit that text. Right, so this is almost perfect. We just wanna make sure that we're not hitting any of the background. So in order to do so, I'm gonna push it like that and play around with X. Okay. Actually, this is already a very nice gloomy look. And then we're gonna duplicate the light and we're gonna push it towards the back and we're gonna light up the background. Right here we want to have it a bit towards the right, maybe even higher. And then we're going to play around with this and also with orientation. Alright, let's close it down. And here in the first slide, we're just going to bump up the intensity a bit. And then I'm going to go back to our lines plus text. And as for the arrow, I'm going to add deep glow. You can use regular glow as well. Let's play around with the settings a bit. And yeah, that glowy touch is actually looking fire here. Then we're gonna go to the camera, transform, and alt click the point of interest. I'm gonna type in wiggle 1,8, and this is gonna give us that camera shake. And as for the last thing, we're gonna add posterize time on top. So I'm gonna right click, go to new, adjustment layer, let's call it posterize, actually posterize time, and we're gonna add the effect. Here I wanna set it to 17, and we're gonna turn on the motion blur on everything. I'm gonna go to lines, and we got our final animation that is looking fire. Probably one adjustment I would do here is just go to the spotlight one, and I would just bump up the intensity. Right, a bit better. So hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure to check out the video on the screen, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers guys.